This is part 5 of Federalist 47, a very important Federalist paper. And we said that Madison is going to look through some really important things like separation of powers in Federalist 47 through 51. Since I'm reading these papers for immigrants and English language learners, I've often mentioned that it is very important if you're reading this along, if you're watching this for the first time, make sure that you read it along with me the first time. You will benefit from it that way. So we are towards the end of Federalist 47. Madison has said that he respects the writings of Montesquieu, the great French political philosopher. They all admire, the founders admired his work, The Spirit of the Laws. And he says anti-federalists are quoting him, saying that he says the three branches of government have to be totally distinct and separate from each other, from one another, 100%. And Madison is saying Montesquieu might have overlooked something. Even in the British system that he has looked at closely, he hadn't realized that there is partial agency amongst these different branches. And then he started going through all the constitutions of the United States, then constitutions of the 13 states, and is saying that, look, even in these constitutions, you can't keep these branches 100% apart. There is an agency, partial agency amongst them. So this is, there are 3 paragraphs left, and this is a paragraph that starts like this. In South Carolina, the Constitution makes the executive magistracy eligible by the legislative department. It gives to the latter also the appointment of the members of the Judiciary Department, including even justices of the peace and sheriffs, and the appointment of officers in the Executive Department, down to captains in the Army and Navy of the state. In the Constitution of Georgia, where it is declared that the legislative, executive, and judiciary departments shall be separate and distinct, so that neither exercise the powers properly belonging to the other, we find that the executive department is to be filled by appointments of the legislature, and the executive prerogative of pardoning to be finally exercised by the same authority. Even justices of peace are to be appointed by legislature. And the last paragraph, inciting these cases in which the legislative, executive, and judiciary departments have not been kept totally separate and distinct, I wish not to be regarded as an advocate for particular organization of the several state governments. I'm fully aware that among the many excellent principles which they exemplify, they carry strong marks of haste and still stronger of the inexperience under which they were framed. So he says, yes, I've talked as a proof of giving you what the constitutions of different states do in respect to separation of powers, but it doesn't mean that I think they're perfect, because as we know, they are not. They were made under, they were asked to be written right after the Revolutionary War started. They were written in haste, in a hurry. So he says, even though I am quoting from them to prove my point, but it doesn't mean that I think they are perfect. They are far from perfect. It is but too obvious that in some instances, the fundamental principle under consideration has been violated by too great a mixture and even an actual consolidation of different powers, and that in no instance has a competent provision been made for maintaining in practice the separation delineated on paper. And he says none of these constitutions have come up, none of these state constitutions have come up with a perfect remedy. What I have wished to evince is that the charge brought against the proposed constitution of violation of sacred maxim of free government is warranted neither by the real meaning annexed to the maxim by its authors, nor by the sense in which it has hitherto been understood in America. This interesting subject will be resumed in the ensuing paper. So he says, with everything that we've looked at, we're going to follow and explain to you what our new Constitution does to present a better framework for us to go forward. It hasn't sacrificed the separation of powers. It has given you a system where the powers are separated, yet have small agency from one branch on another. And we are hoping that by giving you this new Constitution and you ratifying it, we'll be living under a Constitution that will bring you peace and prosperity in the future. So again, as I've mentioned to you before, read different versions of the Federalist Papers, mainly because some of them have done better jobs of writing footnotes, and also introductions are very important. Like I've been reading from this one, I've mentioned this before to you. This is done by the Liberty Fund. And editors are George Carey, C-A-R-E-Y, and James McClellan. James M.C. McClellan, M-C-C-L-E-L-L-A-N, Liberty Fund, L-I-B-E-R-T-Y Fund. Most of their stuff is actually available online for free. The introduction of this Federalist is available online. So if you can read it, like I said, the Federalist Papers edited by J.R. Pohl is really good. This is his other book that includes Anti-Federalist Papers also. I have already shown you this one by Cambridge University Press. So as long as you read along as we go on with these papers, that would be wonderful. And make sure that you watch the lectures that I have recommended on this playlist. On these videos, every once in a while I include these videos that the scholar is one of the well-known historians of the American founding. So what they talk about will make these reading the Federalist Papers make more sense to you. Even if it's not about the Federalist Papers, but you will be better familiar with the history of America in that era, and these things make more sense to you.